This is Ringler Radio, where you get all the latest news and information about settlement solutions, litigation, mediation, and structured financial security from Ringler, the largest and most experienced company of settlement consultants in the United States. Ringler has been helping injured people and their families since 1975. Ringler Radio is made possible in part by American General, Liberty Mutual, MetLife, Mutual of Omaha, New York Life, Pacific Life, and Prudential. Now join Ringler Radio host Larry Cohen.
Well, hello and welcome to Ringler Radio, everyone. I'm Larry Cohen, head of Ringler's Northeast Operations. Well, when designing a structured settlement for an injured person, we try hard to predetermine how much should be set aside for medical costs. But what happens when those medical costs are more than anticipated? And how can someone benefit from a professional third-party manager? Well, that's the topic today on Ringler Radio. And joining me today as co-host is my friend and Ringler colleague, Jack McGintee from our Windham, Maine office. Jack's been with Ringler since 1990, truly one of our veterans. And it's great to have you here, Jack. Time flies. I can't believe it's been that long.
Yeah, thanks, Larry. It's great to be here, and I can't believe it's been that long either, to be honest with you. But it's been fun.
It has been fun,
and it's still fun.
Absolutely. Well, our guest today is Johnny Meyer, Director of Strategic Partnerships for Ametros, a company that provides claimants with professional management of medical funds and medical expenses. We all can attest to the fact that it can get complicated, especially dealing with Medicare and Medicaid. So with all of that, welcome to the show, Johnny, and we'll be talking a lot about the partnership between Ringler and Ametros as we move through the day. Thank you very much, Johnny, for being here.
Yeah, Larry, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it, and it really is such a pleasure to be a part of today's session on Ringler Radio. And, you know, I've always been told that I have a face made for radio, so I'm happy that I was able to join here. And
join the crowd.
Jack, I'm really excited to discuss today's topic with you. I know you've had a lot of experience utilizing our services and understanding the benefits, so I look forward to kind of diving more into that with you.
Well, terrific. And I think faces for radio, I think you can describe quite a few of us in this business. Well, Johnny, there are a lot of moving parts here. Tell us about combining a structured settlement with professional administration and managing the injured party's medical funds or Medicare Set Aside post-settlement. How does it all work?
Yeah, of course. So, you know, it is something that we live by here at Ametros, just in terms of having the mindset and knowing that, you know, the combination of professional administration with the structured settlement annuity is definitely the best way to protect an injured party settlement dollars. You know, if you're in a situation where, you know, you're dealing with unexpectedly very costly year due to higher anticipated medical needs after settlement, it typically is in the best interest of the injured party to save the most money possible. And if you do have that combination of both services included, you know, in that costly scenario, it does allow the injured party to access more coverage from Medicare. And then in return, they're paying fewer dollars out of pocket. So I would typically say, again, that's something that you know, we are a firm believer in terms of just making sure we're also doing everything we can to drive structured settlements on our end, just because of the natural fit that they have with MSAs. And given the annual medical expenses are already being budgeted over the individual's lifetime, you know, we want to make sure that they are saving as much of their settlement funds as possible.
Sure.
Johnny, I have a question. Can you describe what happens if an MSA account runs out of funds when the injured party still has ongoing care? I understand that Medicare steps in to pay some of these and that you guys manage things within Medicare guidelines, but I was wondering if you could explain how that would work.
Yeah, of course, Jack, and that's a great question and appreciate you asking that. So in that event, and remind you too that we typically only see about 2% of our members ever actually exhaust through their entire settlement funds. And that could be because of an unexpected surgery that might not have been accounted for, or just, you know, maybe increased prescriptions that, you know, their providers are recommending. But if the yearly funds were to run out, we help coordinate with any of the secondary forms of insurance or the payments that the injured worker might have, including Medicare coverage. So typically, a member's secondary insurance will step in and pay for the remaining balance of the bills. But for any of our members that do have a Medicare Set Aside account, that secondary insurance is typically Medicare coverage. So when you're using that secondary insurance, including Medicare, you still will be responsible for any deductibles and copays through the secondary insurance. But if you have an MSA and an annuity, once the account's replenished, that's when CareGuard will then become the primary payer again with the MSA funds. And that's why it is so important to consider that if you're not properly administering your MSA account, then you could severely jeopardize having Medicare pay for any of that future medical expenses that may arise.
Johnny, our audience tells us often that it's easier to learn from a real case example, especially when we talk about issues like this. So let's assume that a claimant has a structured settlement with an MSA and the funds are running low, and now there's an unanticipated surgery. So how would the professional administration of those funds help, and what percentage might Medicare cover? And as you talk about that, maybe you could touch a little bit about CareGuard itself.
Yeah, of course, Larry, and that's also a great question. So, let's give an example where you have a structured settlement, in the account, and that's managed by a professional administrator like Ametros. The funds initially will take a large hit at that time of the surgery, but then the administrator, like us, will then have ensured that the funds were spent appropriately and they were only used to cover anything pertaining to the injury. So then if you're following those guidelines and using the settlement funds for everything related to the injury, then Medicare would have no issue with stepping in as the primary payer. They'll pay for only 80%, and then the injured worker would still be responsible for taking care of that 20% out of pocket for the remaining balances of the surgery, but only for that year. So then after that year, the account will actually continue to replenish annually, and then they'll be able to continue treatment by using those MSA funds to pay for all of that future treatment. If they were to have a lump sum account, which is something that we do strongly advise against, then they end up having to pay the remaining cost for the surgery after using what funds they do already have in the account. But unfortunately, with the lump sum settlement, they'll never receive that annual payment, in those following years to come. So, again, Medicare would cover that 80%, but then they're on that hook for the 20% out of pocket for all the future treatment costs for the rest of their lives, such as Medicare premiums and then all the regular treatments. So that is why we do strongly advise against lump sum settlements and always just encourage going with the structure to make sure that you do have that extra layer of protection after your funds exhaust. Right.
And of course, going with a structure on an MSA usually is a cheaper proposition for the claimant. So they save some money on that over a lump sum. And you just gave a great rationale for doing a structure for the reasons you just described. Well, let's take a quick break right now. We'll be right back in a minute, right here on Ringler Radio, with more about Ametros and Structured Settlements Partnership. We'll be right back.
This is Ringler Radio, brought to you from Ringler, the nation's leading provider of fair settlement solutions. Did you know that Ringler is involved in a third of all structured settlement cases in the country? Ringler advisors work with all the parties in a lawsuit settlement to find the best possible financial solution for the people involved. Everybody wins. There's a Ringler consultant in all the major cities of the U.S. No one has more experienced experts in the settlement business than Ringler. Check out our website at www.ringlerassociates.com for the best information for injured parties, attorneys, and claims professionals to find the Ringler advisor nearest you. When it's your interests at stake in a lawsuit settlement, you want only the best, most objective financial plan. You can count on Ringler advisors to create a customized plan that meets the financial needs of you and your family for the future. Visit ringlerassociates.com to learn more.
Well, welcome back to Ringler Radio. Glad you could join us. I'm your host, Larry Cohen, here with my co-host, Jack McGintee, and today's guest, Johnny Meyer, Director of Strategic Partnerships for Ametros. And we're discussing, of course, the synergy between professional administration and structured settlements. So, Johnny, the CareGuard product, which Ametros uses for this professional management, is a very important program and provides a lot of support and help for claimants out there when they're trying to deal with these medical issues. Why don't you explain what CareGuard is and how it really works in this synergistic process that we're talking about?
Yeah, of course. So, what CareGuard was really meant to do was really make the lives easier after the injured worker settles their case. So we're really playing the role of their healthcare advocate after they reach a settlement. So, we're helping the individuals manage and make the most of their settlement funds. And CareGuard is our full professional administration service. So we're taking care of everything on their behalf. So we'll place the MSA funds into an interest-bearing account under the injured party's name. And then we're acting as the custodian of the account. So once they become a member on our platform, that's when they never have to worry about touching a medical bill. They're receiving the full amount of savings on their doctor's visits, their prescriptions, medical equipment, whatever it might be. So we'll issue them a CareGuard card that really serves and works like a traditional health insurance card. And by showing it at the doctors or the pharmacies, it automatically ensures that the injured party will receive that maximum discount through our group purchasing discounts and that all the bills will be sent to us. So we'll review the bills and we'll make sure that, the discounts are applied. And then on behalf of the injured party, then we will make sure everything is 100% compliant within Medicare's guidelines. And then we'll be the ones that are also sending off the reports to Medicare for them. So they simply just have to worry about treatment, and that's it, and just leave everything else to us to handle and play that role of healthcare advocate for them.
Well, that's a terrific service that you provide. We've all used it in our jobs, Jack and I, and all the folks at Ringler, and it's a very reasonable cost as well. And Jack, I think we've also used it for some other things.
Yeah, Johnny, I had a question. You mentioned savings, and I've run into a number of cases where CareQuote has helped either reduce a medical fund that is outside of an MSA, or in the case of an MSA, it's been able to show that the funds within that MSA are actually going to go further as a result of the discounts from the CareQuote. I was wondering if you could explain CareQuote and in terms of how it fits into the puzzle here.
Yeah, of course, Jack, and that's also I'm happy that you have had the chance to utilize it. And what the CareQuote tool was meant to do is really provide a quick snapshot into what the cost of their prescriptions, home health care, skilled facility care, durable medical equipment, things like that, what the cost would be if they were treating on our platform. So as you all know, oftentimes it is hard to guess what the cost would be once they're just treating and filling their prescriptions on their own or getting their prosthetics on their own. What that cost would really look like if they were just treating, and administering everything on their own. So with CareQuote, what we're doing is we're really providing them, the injured parties, their attorneys, if they're represented, with insight into what the actual pricing of these items on our discounted networks would be after they do settle their case. So this is something that can be used in all personal injury cases, including work comp and liability cases. And it's really meant to help bridge the gap for settlement for both the defense and plaintiff side and give the injured worker peace of mind knowing that the settlement amount being put aside for their future medical treatment is going to be sufficient enough to cover them for the rest of their lives.
Terrific. So Jack and Johnny, let's talk about the real world of combining professional administration with structured settlements. Yeah. Give us an idea, both of you. Jack, like for example, when you have a case, whether it's a Medicare Set Aside or whether there's no Medicare involved, how do you involve Ametros and where does it really help in the process of trying to resolve the cases that you're handling?
Well, Ametros, and oftentimes by using CareQuote, enables us to show everybody involved that the medical numbers aren't necessarily as severe as everyone thinks they are. They're the discounts that they can show us, plus the annuity to fund the medicals, often puts everyone in a position where the available funds to settle the case suddenly are a lot more realistic than maybe they appeared to be when the discussion started.
Yeah, that's got to be helpful, especially when you have low limits or liability issues that are maybe competing against the actual numbers.
Absolutely.
And Johnny, what about how CareGuard, outside of the realm of Medicare set-asides, when Jack might have a case, for example, that's dealing just with a settlement and ongoing medicals that may be in the mix, by offering CareGuard, that individual, that claimant, can still help reduce the impact on them moving forward. Is that right?
That is right. Yes. So outside of the MSA world that a lot of us live in, we are able to assist on any sort of liability case. So any case involving a medical component where there is going to be some sort of medical expense incurred after, yes, we can always price out the cost of everything, being able to provide up to almost 30% on a lot of that medical treatment, just knowing that, they will be able to maximize their savings and make the most of these settlement dollars, is just going to go a long ways in getting these cases settled. So, even if you have a life care plan and you want us to take a look into that and see what the cost of everything would be, we know that group health insurance doesn't typically cover home health care or skilled nursing care. So, if the injured party doesn't have insurance coverage, that's where we can really make an impact by then saving them up to almost 30% off on all their out-of-pocket healthcare expenses, whether it be through the doctor or the pharmacy. And that does include savings on home health care and skilled nursing care, and any uninsured cost as well. So, we are able to make a big impact on any sort of liability case. And it is also important to keep in mind, with the changes that will be rolled out at some point regarding liability MSAs, it is going to be important to make sure everything is being tracked accordingly to then ensure that, they are remaining compliant within the guidelines and that they're not going to jeopardize any of their future Medicare benefits.
Yes. And, Johnny, one of the things that is clear, as Jack attested to today, is that so many of us in the industry are now realizing the real value of professional administration and trying to help these claimants reduce the ongoing costs of medical as they move down the road. It's a tremendous service for them, and we're working together, as you know, and it's been a great team effort for sure. So with that, Johnny, if someone wanted to get in touch with you and learn more about Ametros and maybe learn a little bit more about, let's say, the fees, et cetera, and some of those other issues, how would they get in touch?
Yeah, of course. So, should they have any direct questions, I do oversee and manage our Ringler relationship on the Ametros end. So they can always reach out to me directly. And my email is just jmeyer@ametros.com. Or you can also feel free to just call me directly at 781-779-5234. I am always available to answer any questions that may come up. If you need any sort of assistance ahead of a mediation, whatever the situation might be, please feel free to get in touch, and I'm more than happy to help you out and make it a better experience before and after settlement for you all.
Well, that's terrific. And Jack, if someone wanted to get a hold of you, how would they do that?
Contact my office. I'm up in Windham, Maine, and my email is jmcginty@ringlerassociates.com. And I'm happy to help anyone that needs my assistance, either on a structured settlement or coordinating things with an MSA.
Terrific. And, of course, all of you can reach any Ringler associate around the country going to ringlerassociates.com. It's a really good website. I think you'll find it fascinating with a lot of information, including information about the Ametros partnership, the Ametros synergy that we just talked about all during this show. And, of course, you can listen and find all the Ringler Radio shows on ringlerassociates.com. You can also find all the shows on ringlerradio.com, or you can find it on LegalTalkNetwork.com, or you can go to iTunes, where you can download and listen at your leisure. So with that, I want to say once again, thank you very much, Johnny, for tremendous information today about professional administration. I think we all learned a lot. Thank you very much for being on the show.
Of course, Larry. Thank you for your time, and Jack, appreciate your time as well, and really enjoy the partnership.
Yeah, definitely.
Here with Ringler.
Definitely, Jack. Great having you here as our co-host for sure.
Pleasure to be here. Thanks.
Terrific. And for all the rest of you out there, go have a great day. Bye-bye.
The views expressed by the participants of this program are their own and do not represent the views of, nor are they endorsed by, Legal Talk Network, its officers, directors, employees, agents, representatives, shareholders, and subsidiaries. None of the content should be considered legal advice. As always, consult a lawyer. Thanks for listening to Ringler Radio, celebrating more than a decade of podcasting and over 2 million listeners. Think of Ringler, the objective settlement advisors with more than 140 consultants in 60 cities nationwide. Visit ringlerassociates.com today.